Hi, grade 4. Today we're going to be learning about model equivalent fractions. So before we start that, we're going to learn about some vocabulary for fractions. So fraction means it names a part of a whole. So 4/8 is a fraction there on the right-hand side of the screen. So the numerator is the top number of a fraction. It tells how many parts in a whole are being considered. So 4 and 4/8 is the numerator. So then denominator is the bottom of a fraction. It tells the total number of the equal parts in a whole. So 8 in 4/8 is the denominator. So first we're going to talk about some apples. So we're going to take this apple and cut it in half. So now we have 2 equal halves. You decide that you want to give one of your halves of the apple to your sibling. So you get to keep one and your sibling gets the other one. So now we're going to make this into a fraction, but how much you get to keep. So how many of these halves are red? 1. So we put a line underneath our 1. And then how many parts are there in total? How many halves? There's 2. So the 2 goes underneath. So then now if we cut it in half again, we're going to come up with another fraction. So our first fraction was 1/2. Now we have 4 parts, and you're going to give 2 of those parts to your sibling. So you get to keep 2 and your sibling gets to keep 2. So we're going to make a fraction for how many parts you get to keep. So how many of those parts are red? 2. So you put a 2 with a line underneath it. How many parts are there in total? 4. So you put a 4 underneath the line. It's in the denominator spot. So your fraction for this one is 2/4. So you get to keep 2 parts and there's 4 parts in total. So now we're going to do it a little bit differently. So there's 2 different steps to this problem. So first you have to write the fraction for the colored part of the set, so for the orange clouds, and then you have to label which is the numerator and which is the denominator. So you'll have to do questions like this in your work in your textbook. So how many of these clouds are orange? Count them. There's 4. So 4 goes above the line. So there's 4 colored, so 4 goes at the top of the fraction. And how many of the clouds are there in total? Not just the gray, not just the orange. How many in total are there? Count them up. There's 9. So the 9 goes underneath the line. It goes at the bottom of the fraction. So now we have to label the numerator and the denominator because we already have our fraction. It's 4/9. So number 4 is it the numerator or the denominator? Do you remember which one goes on top? So the numerator goes on the top, which means that number 9 would have to be the denominator. So if you look at those words, numerator is smaller, denominator is bigger. So if you think about it, if you were to stack things on top of each other, you normally put the smaller one at the top and the bigger one at the bottom. That way it's sturdy. So the same for the numerator and denominator. The smaller word goes for the top of the fraction and the bigger word goes for the bottom of the fraction. So numerator's the top, denominator's the bottom. All right, we're going to do one more together. So we have to write the fraction for the colored part of the set for the yellow lightning bolts. So how many yellow lightning bolts are there? 2. So we put a 2 at the top of the fraction. And how many lightning bolts are there in total? Not just the gray, not just the yellow, all together. How many are there? 6. All right, so that means our fraction is 2/6 for the yellow lightning bolts. So now we have to label the numerator and the denominator. So number 2 is which one? Remember the smaller word goes on top. So the numerator, which means that number 6 would have to be the denominator. All right, grade 4, I think you guys understand. I think you guys will be able to do this without much help. If you guys need any help, let me know. All right, bye grade 4.